What's up, y'all? So I have already pulled a bunch of patterns that I plan on working with for the season. And as I was pulling those patterns that I plan on stitching up, I realized that my pattern stash can use a bit of reorganizing. I know this looks pretty organized because it's in a drawer, but for me and the way my brain operates and is set up, I feel like it needs a little bit more organizing. I currently have these little laminated bookmarks that I have throughout the drawers of my stash. And I remember sharing this in another organization video that I have here on my channel. But as I was looking for patterns to work with, I realized that while this works, it still is not functional for my growing stash. Now, I haven't done a pattern haul in a while because, as you all can imagine, my pattern and fabric shopping has gotten out of hand. So I just kind of paused on the pattern hauls, but I have been doing some pattern shopping within, my mom's pattern stash and just like different sewing events and things that I've been going to. So that's where my additional patterns have come from. But I'm realizing that my old organization system is no longer working for me. So what I'm going to be doing in today's video is I'm going to go through and I'm going to sort out all the patterns that I have, and then I am going to regroup them and create some new bookmarks and labels to further organize my patterns within the drawer, so that way it makes it easier the next time I'm ready to pull a bunch of different patterns that I want to work with and stitch up for the season. In my previous organization video, someone did mention that they would be interested in also purchasing some bookmarks. So also in this video, I am going to show you all how I make labels and bookmarks for organizing my own system. But I figured that it would also be cool to just kind of do this with you all. And you all can let me know, how do you organize your patterns if you have them stored away inside of drawers or bookshelves or wherever you store them? How do you organize them? Do you organize them by season? Is it by um brand? There's the big four or big five pattern companies. Or how do you organize them? Because there's so many different ways that you can organize them. And I realized that initially I had my patterns organized by season. So I'm curious that if I do decide to make this like a digital download, or maybe just like a set of bookmarks that's available, that already made up, um what would folks be interested in, you know, purchasing if this becomes a thing? Okay, so I'm first going to pick out everything that I have. I have picked up quite a few new patterns just shopping through my mom's stash. I really like stuff like this. I just need to get rid of. Like, I don't even have a dog anymore. Why do I still have that pack? Okay, so I pretty much have everything sorted. I know it's a lot, it's a mess. The creative process is pretty messy. Okay. I'm inviting you all in. So this is where I'm at with things, and this is what I feel like I need you all's help with because when it comes to categorizing things, and when I was thinking about making this like a digital download, I'm like, should I make this something that people can customize on their own, or should I just make like a designated set of 5 for like simplicity, macaw's, new look, butterick, vogue. Yeah, just making like a set to separate them by brand or separate them by season or by outfit. This is where the confusion comes in because there's so many different variations on how you could sort and organize your patterns. So, as I mentioned previously, I have sorted my undergarments, not undergarments. I have sorted my patterns in the past based off of the weather. And so, for instance, I'll have like warm weather. Let me see if you can see that. I'll have like warm weather shorts and skirts. But what does that really mean? Okay. Like, what does that really mean? And then I have like warm weather dresses, cold weather coats and jackets. Like what? What does that mean? So, okay, let me show you all another like confusing thing that I was going through. Like at first I was like, okay, I'm going to separate them by tops, bottoms, pants, skirts, separate them like that. But then you have these type of patterns where it's like it's a dress, it's a bra, it's a romper. It's like a bunch in one. So what do I do with patterns like this where it's like it's a top and a bottom? It is a tunic, a tank, and a bottom, or it's a skirt and a bottom. Am I just categorizing this as like sets? Is that a thing? And then as I was going through it, I was like, I have tops. I can literally have a drawer designated to just tops, right? But I would be sorting for an extremely long time if I'm just like very vague. I feel like if I get specific and I'm like summer tops and tanks, right? But here's another one of those mixed use patterns. Maybe like this is a dress, it's a tunic, it's a bottom, it's shorts. Maybe I'm like categorizing this like this. It was hard for me to categorize like, is this warm weather? Is this cold weather? It's like, where does this go? So I think I'm going to, again, another mixed pattern where it's like tops and bottoms, tops and bottoms. So I think the way I'm going to organize this is I'm going to do it based off of like summer tops, like short sleeve tops and tanks. That's what I'm going to go by. That's going to be one category ish. Short sleeve tops and tanks. That's going to be one category. But then this is going to be another category where it's like, I guess you can call this sets because this is leggings and a top. So I think I'm going to have like a drawer or a section for tops and bottoms. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be summer tops. And then I'll have like sets as another category. right? Is that what I'm thinking? And then I'll have, like, more of my, like, fancier button-up blouses and stuff. Like, these can be their own category, right? Does that make sense? I think so. So far I have short sleeve summer tops, long sleeve button-up blouses and shirt dresses. And then I have, like, bodysuits. That'll be a category because I have these 2 different kinds of bodysuits. And then I have a ton of, like, undergarment patterns for intimates. So I'll keep that as loungewear intimates. We'll keep that. And then I have, like, this other section where it's not necessarily intimates, but it's still like loungewear, you know? Like, it's a robe and pants, it's pajama sets, it's a onesie. So I'm thinking that this category will be like sleepwear lounge. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna continue to, like, sort through this, and then once I'm at my computer, then I can actually, like, label this and categorize this and show you all what I end up actually settling with once I get through all of this. So yeah, I'll continue to organize and work through this chaos and check back in with you all once I'm actually ready to print out the labels. Okay, now that I have everything sorted out, let's talk through what was working, what wasn't working, and what I'm planning to do going forward regarding organizing my sewing patterns. So, out of all the bookmarks that I originally created, only two of them still work, and that is the loungewear for intimates because those will be like my undergarment sewing patterns, like bras, panties, any of that, that still is the same. And then my cold weather coats and jackets, this bookmark still works because that's where all of my shackets, coats, hats, any of my cold weather sewing patterns, that's where all of those patterns will exist. Where things kind of got a little tricky was when it came to I was trying to sort my patterns based off of the season. Cold weather, warm weather, because I live in the Bay Area. It only gets hot and cold. Like, it isn't really those transitional seasons like the spring and the fall. I mean, we have it, but it's not that significant where I feel like I need to sort my patterns out in that way. It just doesn't make sense. So initially, I was like, okay, maybe I can just have a section for all of my tops. But if I had a section for all of my top sewing patterns, it would be this entire pile right here, which would take up an entire drawer. And I still feel like I would be rummaging through a lot of patterns until I got to exactly which pattern I was searching for. So then I decided to break it up into two. So I have my short sleeve patterns, which are my tanks and tops um, for the summertime or just in general. If I'm looking for a short sleeve sewing pattern, I'll have them in this pile. And then for this pile, I have my long sleeve button up blouses and fancy tops. Now, what gets kind of tricky within this pattern stash is because, we have I'll show you. We have this, which kind of, it's a blouse, it's fancy, it's long sleeve top, button up blouse is still fancy. This is a fancier top, but it also has, sleeveless and quarter length sleeves. So you see, and then, still a fancy top, a button up blouse. And then you kind of have like patterns like this, where it's like, it's a button up, it's a blouse, but it's also like a dress, you know? So it kind of gets iffy when it comes to that. But I think if it's at least sorted by short sleeve and then long sleeve, then I'll have a lot simpler, you know, time when I'm looking for a particular sewing pattern. It'll make it easy for me to sort through if I have them categorized by short sleeve and long sleeve. Then the other categories that I have is I realize I have a few different types of loungewear. I have loungewear that can be pajamas. So that is, your patterns like this that are PJs or, like a sleep dress or robe, bralette, nightgown type of situation. And then, pajama pants. So this is one category of loungewear. And then I have another category of loungewear, which is like my active wear. So that's like, the sports bras, or it's not necessarily like I'm going to bed in this. I could make this for a nighttime set, but this is like a set that you'll wear outside, like, or to the gym, something along those lines. So I have two different stashes or sections, one for loungewear for inside the home, and then loungewear, which is active wear, which I wear outside of the home. So those are two different categories. And then I have rompers and bodysuits. So that's pretty self explanatory. All those sets that are rompers or those one piece, you know, that's what this section consists of. And then I have another section with cardigans, caftans, and tunics. And then another section for just dresses. Initially, I was sorting them by warm weather, cold weather. But then as I started to pick out patterns to sew up for the spring and summer, I was like, I don't know where I'm looking for the right pattern at. It started to get a little confusing. So I just put all my dresses in one category. Then here's the other like tricky part. Like I have these patterns that are like this. It's like it can count as an intimate because it's like a swimsuit top and it's a skirt, but you can also stitch this up as like the outfit that you will wear outside. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me show you something else. Okay. So you have patterns like this where it has skirts, a top and a bottom, a top and a bottom, a top and a bottom, or you have a dress, a romper, a bralette, or you have a shirt, a pair of pants, a jacket, or a top, a pair of pants, and a crop top. Or you have like a pair of leggings, a crop top, and a belt. Like patterns like this where they kind of have outfits inside of the pattern already. I was like, where do they go? Do they go inside the top section? Do they go inside the bottom section? That's where it gets tricky. So I just decided to group patterns like this that kind of have mixed sets on the inside of them They are just going to be a bookmark that's labeled as sets, mixed use patterns. So that's what I have settled on. I have an updated organization system. So I have one for loungewear intimates, loungewear pajamas, loungewear activewear, and then I have skirts and bottoms, rompers and bodysuits, dresses, cardigans, caftans, and tunics, short sleeves and long sleeves. And then I have these like miscellaneous patterns, which is like a dog pattern, a bag pattern, and a sleeve pattern. So, yeah, those are my categories. And now I'm going to go ahead and set up the bookmarks for those, print them out, and get these stored back into the drawers with the updated bookmarks. So let's go ahead and do that. As I started to design the labels for my patterns, I realized I was calling them bookmarks primarily because they are shaped like bookmarks. And I got the idea from, how do you keep tabs on the pages that you left off on if you are reading a book? And then I was like, all right, well, these aren't necessarily for books. So how about I call these pattern tabs? And in this process, I was like, this is a real life experience of what it's like to actually develop a product. Like, there's so many different things that go into making it and all these different things to consider. And I was like, yeah, this must be, a really challenging thing to do on a larger scale for those companies that have an inventory of a bunch of different products they're trying to create, but also trying to make sure that it is something that is usable for a variety of different people. Okay, so as you all can tell, based on my own personal experience, there are a lot of different ways that you can go about grouping and organizing your sewing patterns. This is what I ended on for my personal stash. And as you can imagine, based on how you have your craft room or your sewing room or your home office set up, you can come up with a lot of different ways to organize, group, and categorize your sewing patterns based off of the way that you tend to, you know, go through your patterns. So I figured that this would be a fun way to just kind of engage with you all and get some feedback from you all if I do decide to make this a digital download or just a product that I put on my website or Etsy shop. I haven't fully fleshed out where this will be. But if you have some suggestions and recommendations for ways that you would group and categorize your sewing patterns, whether that will be by the brand, whether it's one of the big four pattern companies, of indie pattern company that you tend to buy a lot of patterns from, or whatever. If you tend to organize your patterns by the season, the occasion, whatever it may be, let me know some different variations that you would potentially organize your own sewing patterns, and at random, I will select one of you all in the comments to send a set of bookmarks to you all. I'm looking for some categories that will be useful for not just my own personal stash, but for you all who also sew and use patterns. I'm looking for something like that that will be helpful for anybody who is currently in the same phase as I am as you're like organizing your sewing patterns. Let me know in the comments section below what are some different variations that you would go about organizing and grouping your patterns. And the best one in the comments that I'll randomly select, I'll make you up a set of bookmarks and I will contact you and send you a set of bookmarks so that way you can organize your own sewing patterns. So I'm going to head home, get this laminated, cut out, and I'm going to show you all how the final result turned out. This little experiment, activity, whatever you want to call it, gave me a whole new level of empathy for folks who do product development full time. I initially made this for myself, but in the back of my mind, I was always thinking this could be helpful for others too. And that's when things got real. Once you try to create something for other people, you start realizing all these extra things you have to think about. At first, I figured I just make it a digital download, like the idea alone should be enough, right? But then I spiraled into, why would someone go buy a whole laminator and paper for something they'll only use maybe once or twice a year? Then I thought, well, it's the same reason why we buy coffee or matcha when we all have the supplies at home. It's about convenience and options. That's when it hit me. Maybe I can make this for others. And down the rabbit hole I went, thinking about how design shifts when it's no longer just for you. Honestly, this ended up being both fun and a real peek into how I process things as a creative entrepreneur. A lot of what I make starts personal, then turns into something I want to share. But the moment other people are involved, you have to consider variation, use cases, and expectations. It even made me reflect on the times I've expected brands or businesses to think of me, and how sometimes it's not personal. Maybe your situation wasn't considered because it's super specific or unique, or the budget just didn't allow for it. Anyway, this was a solid creative exercise. Whether I'm sewing, filming, or designing something simple, I'm learning that variety matters. And nothing's really new. It's just about remixing what's already exists in a way that fits you. This was a great reminder that if what you want does not exist, make your own or go find someone or something that's close enough to what it is that you want. If this is something that you want, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye.